It looked like the WNBA has become the laughingstock of all sports, man, because the ticket prices are horrendous. This is a championship game.
But everyone, you really must check out the admission costs for these WNBA Finals games. I am referring to each and every game, including a possible Game 7. The entrance fee is really lower than, let's just say it's terrible when a WNBA Finals ticket costs as much as a fast food combination that we're talking about $25 tickets for the year's biggest series. Furthermore, that isn't a typo. How in the world could the most prosperous WNBA season ever result in cheap tickets and empty seats? If the cost of the tickets were only $25, would you really go? Okay, let's get started on this mess because, believe me, it's crazy. Throughout the season, the WNBA has been boasting about record attendance, unprecedented expansion, and unprecedented momentum. However, as we approach the finals, ticket prices have fallen precipitously. Faster than a whistleless Caitlin Clark fast break, that is.
Will debut the Las Vegas Aces versus the Phoenix Mercury, and I'm telling you right now, this is probably going to be one of the lowest rated WNBA finals.
Furthermore, this isn't some archaic history. Let's be very detailed. We are discussing the first game of the Las Vegas WNBA Finals. You would think that the world's entertainment hub would be bursting at the seams for this. Not at all. Rethink. Nosebleed seats for a pittance. Bowl lower 45. Would you like to take a seat directly behind the bench? $90. About $130 is the second row from the court. To be honest, I've attended concerts when the parking lot was more expensive than the actual tickets. These identical seats were selling for 2 to 3 times as much this year as they did last. About $2,000 was courtside last year. You may purchase one this year for just less than $1,000. And only if you're feeling especially opulent. Prices are circling the $800 range behind the basket. And it's most likely the only area of the arena that's on the verge of selling out. The worst part is still to come. These prices aren't even those of resellers. The league and the teams are unable to even fill seats at face value because they are directly from Ticketmaster and SeatGeeks.
Now, we know the controversy that led up to this game is pretty much attached to Caitlin's name. That is, the Las Vegas Aces actually knocked off Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. Well, Caitlin did not play, but we know the referees kind of had a hand in that, we should say, with kind of making sure the Las Vegas Aces was pushed to making it to the finals. Not to mention, we got none other than Dewana Bonner, former Indiana Fever, quit the team herself in the talk and conversation of this WNBA Finals, and more importantly, her significant other, Alyssa Thomas, has found herself in some hot water as well, with not really speaking about the current.
Now, don't misunderstand. It's not as if Vegas has developed an acute dislike for basketball. The Aces have dominated the game completely. Chelsea Gray and Kelsey Plum are real Showtime performers, and A'ja Wilson is putting up real superstar numbers. Additionally, the Phoenix Mercury, a team who genuinely clawed their way back into relevance this season, will be their opponent. Here's the harsh reality, though. Nobody genuinely cares, with the exception of the most ardent WNBA fans. And that is the biggest nightmare the league has ever had, my friends. Because Caitlin Clark's performances sold out in a matter of hours. In May, it was impossible to find Fever Games resale seats for less than $200. However, now that she isn't playing, the indisputable buzz is only.
Time WNBA MVP, A'ja Wilson can't even get tickets up to $50. Bruh, this is bad. I mean, this is beyond bad. This just tells you the state of this damn league. And I'm here to tell you, this is hella funny. It says the most unwatchable basketball product possible between the two teams left standing. Not to decimate it by injury, Cathy Engelbert really outdid it herself.
This directly demonstrates what a great number of supporters have been saying all along. This year's excitement surrounding the league wasn't genuinely the result of clever marketing or organic growth. Not at all. Caitlin Clark was the reason behind it all. She stole the show. For a period. She brought in the sponsors, the fans, the news, and, above all, the figures. Without her, the league is frantically struggling to remain relevant, just as it has been for years. This is where things start to get extremely humorous, or depending on your point of view, really depressing. Even now, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert continues to speak about how the league is in its strongest position ever. With all due respect, ma'am, why is it less expensive to watch your finals than it is to bowl a few frames at the MGM Grand if it is that strong? The ticket charts accurately depict the actual narrative. When the match was first advertised, tickets for the upper level started at about $50. Yet they fell by 20% in a single week. Lower bowl seats were already available for less than $60 by the time the media even began to cover this. Alright, this is a complete catastrophe for optics, particularly considering that the WNBA has spent the entire year promoting this story of record development. Nike alliances, brand agreements, and record sales of merchandise. However, if nobody actually shows up for your championship, what good is all of that? Oh, but it's Vegas, the online defenders argue, clearly already in full damage control mode. The struggle for attention is fierce. Yes, I understand. However, these are the finals. There won't be $25 tickets available when the NBA Finals finally take place in Vegas. The $45 lower bowl tickets are not available. Because people care, you'll see them gladly spending thousands. In actuality, the league made a complete mess. They place far too much emphasis on social media hype and not nearly enough on developing a loyal fan base. Another thing that no one likes to utter out is this. There are no narratives in this finals contest that would appeal to casual fans. Caitlin Clark isn't yours. There is no Angel Reese for you. You don't use trash talk or viral drama to keep people interested. It's only basketball. Additionally, the league has inadvertently taught fans to care more about controversy than the actual game, even when the product on the court may be good. Let's be frank and brutal. Simply said, the Mercury vs. Aces series isn't that compelling. There is only two teams playing excellent basketball in front of half-empty seats. There is no rivalry, no drama, and no story of good versus evil. Even stranger is the fact that several athletes have begun to subtly acknowledge that there isn't enough energy in the finals. Contrast that with the beginning of the season, when each Caitlin Clark game seemed to be a national occasion. It was crowded during the Fever Games. There were reporters everywhere. Outside, fans were waiting in line. That energy has vanished entirely. Get this. Clark's injuries aren't the only issue. It concerns the way the league handled her and her supporters throughout the entire year. Fans noticed each time she was reprimanded, ignored, or fouled. Fans stopped watching whenever players made fun of her accomplishments. The stats are rapidly returning to reality now that the Caitlin boost has entirely disappeared. Not to mention how absolutely awful this appears to be before important CBA talks begin. The athletes have a legitimate desire for greater benefits, larger revenue shares, and better compensation. That's reasonable, but how in the world are you going to ask for a wage increase when your finals tickets aren't even worth $40? This will be used as absolute ammunition by owners and networks. They're going to say, look, you had your best season ever and fans still didn't show up. Everyone is harmed by this, including the players, supporters, and the league as a whole. Because poor attendance results in more than simply lost money. It implies fewer media deals, fewer sponsors, and far less negotiating power in any upcoming negotiations. Additionally, Cathy Engelbert continues to hold news conferences in which she talks about record growth, game expansion, and the league's robust state as if everything were fine. Fans, meanwhile, aren't even willing to pay $30 for a ticket. You had better be prepared to acknowledge historic audience apathy if you want to claim historic triumph. Even worse, the web optics are simply horrifying. Screenshots of the ticket maps that display hundreds or perhaps thousands of empty tickets in each area are being shared online. Some are mockingly referring to it as the most accessible finals ever. Some claim that this season's official whistles are louder than the arena's stillness. All of this points to a single significant problem. The league continues to disregard the true desires of the fans. They desire consistency. They want the right kind of publicity for their stars. Rather than politics, drama, or public relations spin, they want fair officiating and true respect for the athletes. However, the WNBA simply keeps making mistakes while attempting to strike a balance between managing its image and engaging its fans. They seem to have an allergy to success that comes easily. Instead of welcoming the audience that Caitlin Clark brought in, they handled it as if it were a problem. Look where we are now. Half-empty arenas, historically cheap ticket prices, and a commissioner acting as though everything was planned out are all features of the finals. At the same time, it's amusing and completely depressing. In all honesty, if this continues, the finals may be held in a high school gym the following year. Let's now discuss how this catastrophic collapse might have been prevented. Sincerely, things didn't have to be this horrible. With a rising fan base, national exposure, new sponsors, and one of the most talked about athletes in all of sports, the WNBA had everything it needed for a successful last season. However, they were able to convert all of that amazing momentum into a $30 ticket somehow. In a perverse way, it's almost impressive. For months, Cathy Engelbert and her team were congratulating themselves as though they had figured out the secret to women's basketball. Every press conference had the same tone. The figures have increased. The brand is powerful. We're expanding more quickly than before. But the real product remained the same despite all the catchphrases. The same drab broadcast angles, the same officiating concerns, and the same meager marketing. They simply believed that the finals could be won by sheer hype. Reality just hit them in the face at this point. The players are aware of it as well. Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier, and Sophie Cunningham have all alternated in criticizing the leadership. And rather of resolving the problems, Engelbert continues to create task forces and hold listening sessions. Another committee, great. Because more meetings and less action are exactly what every floundering league needs. Unquestionably, the league blatantly avoids acknowledging the one issue that is plainly clear to everyone else. Caitlin Clark, not the WNBA, was the reason fans attended. That's where the discomfort lies. Nobody wants to speak it aloud. You can't have a spark without her. No drama is present. Nobody is attracting millions of viewers. The season's high point, not the afterglow of the celebration, should be the finals. The marketing staff is currently rushing to share highlights, promote fresh plots, and bombard social media with hashtags that promote empowerment. However, it's much too late. You can't use hashtags to get out of seats that are empty. And please, this entire cheap ticket spin. They refer to it as ensuring that all fans can see the championships. No, it gives the finals a frantic appearance. Selling out and adding additional seats is what accessibility is all about, not lowering costs by 70% because no one is purchasing. Not even ESPN seems enthusiastic. The coverage seems hesitant. The photos of the crowd are odd. The broadcast booth is right behind rows of vacant chairs, which completely detracts from the atmosphere on TV. In a league that is often discussing momentum, it feels like someone simply slammed on the brake during the finals. The funniest bit comes next. The economy is not even to blame. This is being purposefully avoided by the same people that are content to shell out hundreds of dollars for college football games, USC bouts, or concert tickets. It has to do with interest, not money. There isn't a pricing problem if people won't pay even $30 to watch the finals live. That is a matter of relevance. The WNBA has a once-in-a-generation opportunity to attract new followers. Even when Clark wasn't on the floor, they only needed to keep them engaged and give them the impression that the league was worthwhile. Instead, they spun every possible plot point into an off-court scandal, silenced her defenders, and alienated her fan base. They're now footing the bill. You would think that after years of using the "we're growing the game" mantra, they would realize that growth is meaningless if people stop attending. Perfection is not what fans are requesting. They want enthusiasm, hard work, and leadership that doesn't feel like summer camp management. To be honest, the league just cannot continue to act as like nothing is wrong. You can't sell $25 finals tickets in Las Vegas like you're advertising a middle school talent event while tweeting weekly development records. That isn't progress. That is anxiety masquerading as hope. Don't get me wrong, Vegas has fulfilled its obligation. The Aces are a fun squad to watch. They have a good home court setup, spectators, and stars. However, you can tell there's an issue with more than one team when even their finals crowd appears to be half empty. It's possible that the Mercury lacks Caitlin Clark's star power. Come on though, this isn't a preseason scrimmage. This is the final round. For every sport to sell on the big stage, buzz is essential. March Madness, the NBA Finals, and the Super Bowl all seem like huge events. It seems as though the WNBA Finals were inadvertently arranged to coincide with two pickleball competitions. Furthermore, we must never forget that this was meant to be their year. The league won easily in front of them because to the extraordinary attention that Caitlin Clark provided. They had the opportunity to increase their marketing efforts, ride that amazing wave, and create a finals environment that was larger than life itself. Instead, though, they became slothful. They believed that the focus would just continue as if viewers would watch out of habit. This just doesn't work that way. You must make folks want to care. In order to get people to exclaim, "I absolutely cannot miss this," you must develop narratives, rivalries, and suspense. Rather, the main plot point is how inexpensive the seats are. Yes, you may purchase a ticket to the finals for $25. And it looks like nobody is waiting in line. Despite the WNBA's claims of expansion, these vacant seats paint a very different picture. Perhaps the league should concentrate far more on maintaining supporters' true interest and less on hashtags.